Hello and welcome. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Maria Tomás-Keegan, and I want to welcome you to the show where we share some wit and some wisdom and some wonderful experts to help women navigate career and life changes and challenges, and most importantly, for you to know that you are not alone. Each week through our conversations, we share resources to encourage women to be more confident, resilient, and brave in their career and life choices. We stream live weekly, Thursdays at 10 a.m. Pacific time on the E360 TV network, which you can find on your favorite streaming services like Roku and Apple TV and Amazon Fire. And we go live simultaneously on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook, where you can interact with us. And if you prefer to listen on the run to your favorite shows, we're also on all the podcast channels. So if something inspires you today and you want more, please subscribe to your favorite channel, leave us a comment, share your favorite episodes so we can create more ripples in the world for women. So today we're diving into a topic that touches every one of us at some point in our careers or our lives: rejection. Rejection can sting, it can dishearten us, and sometimes it can derail our plans. But what if I told you that rejection isn't the end of the road, but a detour to something greater? And what if rejection is the universe's way of nudging us towards a path filled with more success, more income, and maybe more career progression than we ever imagined? Wouldn't that be great? So, to explore this perspective, we have not one guest, but three incredible women who are joining us today, and collectively they're known as the 90-Day Divas. These dynamic women, Jennifer Myers, Lucy Fritsche, and Carol Reid, bring together over 45 years of business experience and a treasure trove of strategies to help us turn setbacks into setups for remarkable achievements. The 90-Day Divas are no strangers to the highs and lows of professional life. Their diverse backgrounds, from leadership coaching to digital marketing and happiness training, I love that, form a potent blend of wisdom that has guided countless female professionals and business owners out of overwhelm and into a realm of impact and income. So if you've ever faced rejection and wondered, where do I go from here? Or if you're seeking ways to bulletproof your career against the inevitable no's, you're in the right place. Let's learn from the 90-Day Divas how to embrace rejection, build resilience, and 10x our careers. I'm so excited to bring these ladies on. So let's get started. Welcome, Jen, Lucy, and Carol. Thank you so much for joining us.
Awesome
Thank
to
you,
be
Maria.
here.
It's exciting to be here this morning, this afternoon. Yes.
Yes, it's morning for me. These ladies are coming to us from New Zealand, all of them. It's tomorrow for them, and it's very early in the morning. So I truly appreciate that you are here with us so early in your morning.
No
So
worries.
we're going to do a round robin here, if that's okay with you. And I want to start with you, Lucy. Briefly share with us the story about how you guys came together as the 90-Day Divas. And tell us about, I'm a master collaborator at heart. So this, I understand, was a study in collaboration. I want to hear that story.
Yep, totally was. And yeah, thanks for having us. And so it basically all started when COVID hit, or maybe a bit before. So we've all been in different business groups and networking groups, and I got to know Carol and many other people. And then I was on this online, it was a bit of a speed dating networking event, and it was during COVID. And there must have been about 30 people on that screen, and I'm somehow locked eyes with Jen, and I was like, wow, I need to chat with her after this call, and really wanted to connect. And so we did, and we started talking and talking, and we just realized we had such the same vision, mission, and it was really exciting. And we were like, oh, well, let's touch base again in 2 weeks and see how we go. And we did, and we just realized the ideas were just coming, and it was totally flowing and felt aligned. And then I knew Carol, and I was like, I think we need to have a third person to join, because then we've all got these different expertises, and it gelled really well. So told Carol about it, and she was real keen to join too. And basically the rest is history. We really got together, and we were just doing, going. And it's been more than 2 years, and I wouldn't want to change it, look back. And it's amazing what we've been able to set up and create together, and really utilize all our strengths and skills. And I mean, it is a big job to put a business together, but knowing that you've got two other business partners with you who have share the same mission, vision, it's just, it's amazing. It's really, it takes so much of, because we have, entrepreneurship can be really lonely. It can be tough at times. And just knowing you've got
Yeah,
two on board who just think and support and know you, and it's very motivating and stimulating. And
I love that. I love that. And I love that you got together through a networking experiences that so many of us who are solopreneurs, it can be very isolating. And those kinds of communities can give us the kind of support system that we crave. And honestly, it's sometimes difficult to find those right connections where there's this beautiful merge of vision and creativity and all of that. I love what you ladies have done. It's beautiful. All right, so let's get into today's subject. And Carol, let's talk about your definition of rejection. So, how do you define it, and how does it affect us?
Right. Hi. Thanks for having us today. Yes, definitely. Rejection is something that all of us face. It's not something that we can ever kind of get away with. And I think sometimes we feel like, oh, I wish we could have a life of ease and no rejection. But that's just not possible, because we just have that in our nervous system, and it's part of when we get into rejection. It actually feels and it translates the same way in our nervous system as someone actually physically hurting us. So that's why sometimes when we get rejected, we can feel this kind of punch to the gut, or we can feel, our breath catch in our throat or in our chest. We're actually having a physical reaction to rejection. So that's why we want to avoid it, because nobody wants pain. We're all trying to get out of pain into pleasure, and that's kind of what we're trying to do all the time. So it's really recognizing that this too shall pass. It's just a feeling that's coming through me, and rejection makes me stronger, better, and able to step up into the next thing. Because as we've talked about, what if your setbacks were set-ups?
Mm.
What if actually, that rejection was the protection that you needed not to, have that client or have that life partner, or, if you think back across your life, you may have gone out with someone that you're so glad that you didn't end up having a life with. you know. So I think rejection is one of those things that we try and avoid, but actually it's one of those things, if we can lean into it and if we can feel it, particularly if we can feel it in our body, then we can move through it quite quickly. If we can allow it to come through our body, we can let it go, and then we can move through it into the next phase. And it's the letting go. It's always the letting go. Yeah.
I love what you said, that it is. I believe emotions need motion in order for them to come up and out, right? And I love that you said rejection, we feel it in our bodies. And if we could just acknowledge that it's this too shall pass. I say that a lot. My grandmother used to say that to me. Um, but knowing that it's not permanent, it's temporary, and that if we just work through it and acknowledge what happened and why it's there, then it has an opportunity to work its way through.
Yeah.
Any,
Yeah.
Anybody else have
I think
anything more to say about that? Yeah, go ahead, Jen.
Abs-
I see you nodding.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's, what if I love the phrase about, what if it's a setup for moving forward. And I think every rejection is a learning experience, and we can take
Mm,
something from that and launch forward. We were just having a chat the other day among the three of us about, failure. What is failure? And, what is it? What can it mean? And how can it help us to move forward in life? So
yeah,
if we look at every perceived rejection as just, it's feedback, what do we need to learn from it? And how do we move forward?
yeah.
hmm,
Feedback. Yeah.
I think we get stuck there. I think that's the thing too. We can get stuck in the pattern and in the story of the rejection, and so that doesn't help us either, because it
Right.
ends up defining us in that moment and holding us back from our true potential or from our next progression. And so we end up, telling the story of over and over of that moment, and that keeps on making it stick in the body as well, in the physiology. And so
That's right.
it's the movement again, like you said, make a move, make some movement out of it. And you've got to feel it to heal it is one of those things, right? So
Yeah.
feel it,
Yeah.
body, move it through.
Yeah. That's so true. You got to feel it to heal it. That's so true. All right, Jen, you're up. So, why is it so very important that we learn strategies for dealing with that pushback, with the no's, and with the setbacks that come with rejection?
Well, I think it kind of relates back to a couple of things that we've touched on, which is rejection is a constant in life. We are not going to escape it. We have it when we, talk to our partner about, hey, what do you want to do this weekend? I feel like going to see a movie. And the partner says, I don't know. I'd rather do whatever. That can feel like a rejection to us, right? We can put forward an idea at work to the boss or to whoever, and that idea isn't quite taken up. That's a rejection. There are so many different, you can be in your own business, right, and have a meeting with a prospect and say, gosh, I think we're just perfect for each other, I'd love to work with you, are you ready to work together? And the person can say, no, I'm not quite ready yet. So it happens in so many different scenarios that we just need to be aware that most of the time people aren't really ready for what we're putting forward, especially in business. So we work with a lot of people who are, those solopreneurs, and you need to understand and set realistic expectations for yourself that over 90% of the people that you're chatting with as potential prospects are nowhere near ready for working with you. So it's really important to make sure that you've got a method in place for continuing to stay in touch with those people until they are ready so that you're there. But being resilient and bouncing back from all of the no's is so incredibly important to being consistent and staying persistent with those people who aren't ready to work with you yet. Does that make sense?
Yes, for sure. And I think about this in a corporate environment, right? It's so many times I can tell when I was back in corporate. I can't tell you how many times I was told this is an idea that is, too soon. It's a bridge too far.
Yep.
I knew it was a great idea. My team knew it was a great idea, yet we couldn't convince anyone else that it was something that now was the time, right? So rejection happens in so many different ways that so the strategies we learn to deal with them, I think, are so critical to and I know you ladies have put together 12 strategies for our listeners to use to help them build those resilience muscles, because that's what they are, right? They really are like a muscle. And if we exercise those muscles, we can, I like to say, not bounce back, but bounce forward. I don't want to bounce back to where I was. I want to bounce forward from where I am. But still, that, that resilience, that ability to bounce forward. So let's talk about, let's start with one of those strategies. So Carol, would you take us through one of those strategies?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's really back to that changing the perspective, changing the story. So when we recognize that we've got that feeling coming up, so you're having a conversation, something's transpiring, and you can start to feel that sort of wave of stuff coming through the body. It's recognizing that rejection is redirection. So how can I redirect it? So then it's recognizing it's coming through me. How do I change the story? How do I change the perspective here? What if this is a setup for something else? What if, this is protecting me from something else that's going on? So it's really letting yourself lead into what are the other stories I can tell myself, changing it up in your own mind as it's happening. And then when you finish the conversation or the moment's gone, just again feeling it through the body, letting it move through you. In fact, this happened to me yesterday. I just had this exact experience yesterday, and I could feel it welling up. And, so it doesn't matter how much work you do, it's still going to happen. Like, stuff is going to happen, but it's how fast and how quickly we move through it. And I allowed it to come through me. I could feel it, and I just let it roll through. And then I was like, well, that's just the way it is. I can't do anything about it. That's someone's perspective. I can only control my own perspective. So what am I going to say to myself now about this to be able to move through this? And it was really quick, like within an hour, I was over it. And I can tell you that's taken work to do that. But, you've got to keep doing it, keep doing it. The more chances you get to have rejection, the stronger you're going to be. Simple as that.
Yeah, what is it they say about failure? It's like fail fast, so you can learn more about what that feels like, and you will succeed faster, right? You'll figure it out faster. So I
Yeah.
I love what you just said about the changing the story, kind of redirecting. It reminds me of my favorite quote, um, Dr. Wayne Dyer. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And
Yeah.
that's really what you're talking about here, right?
100%, yeah, because we
Right?
don't see the world as it is. We see the world as we see it.
Right.
So we've all got our own little worlds, mini worlds that we're living in. And the more that we can understand that, the more that we can, enjoy our own world and live in our own world, but actually interact with everyone else's in a kind way, in a way that recognizes that they're doing the best they can with the information they have. And
Yeah,
that was the other, saying
and
that.
the rejection kind of happens when those worlds clash, right? So someone says something that is not the way we see it, and we take it personally,
Yeah.
right? And we take it as a rejection, as a no, as a setback.
100%. And there's a worthiness piece there. So for me yesterday, there was a little worthiness story popping up. It was like, oh, so you don't think I'm worthy? Well, that was popping up. And then I was like, that's so interesting because I've done so much work on that.
Yeah.
But it's still there, it's still popping up. The little girl wants to pop up and have her say, and we've
Yeah.
got to say, come on, baby girl, you're okay. You're okay, baby girl. Let me take your hand, pop you back in my pocket. You're okay, Yeah, interesting.
It I thank you for sharing that, because it's so prevalent. It happens to us all the time, no matter how much work we have done, personal development work, the inner child work that we've done. It's all still there. It's all still there. And it rears its ugly head sometimes at the most inopportune moments, right?
Yeah, totally, 100%. And it was popping up, and I recognise that actually that's okay. It's okay. It's not meant to be. It's not meant to be, and
Yeah.
it's better for me that it doesn't happen. And actually, it's given me an opportunity to do something else. So I could see the benefits already popping in of the reasoning. So that was the great thing, because sometimes we can't see those. So that's why we get stuck in the story, because we can't in the moment bring in those benefits, but it's actually going and stepping away from it. If you've got to take a moment and step away and come back to the conversation if that's what you have to do. But it's recognizing that there is a benefit somewhere.
Right. Right. Yeah, absolutely. Uh, Jen or Lucy, anything more about that strategy? Anything more you'd like to share?
The one thing that I really liked what you said, Maria, was that two worlds clashing. I think that's a really cool way of looking at it. And sometimes we really we're a bit in our own little bubble, and it's just me, me, me. And yeah, like Carol said, we take it personal. That inner child comes up. But yeah, if we step back and just really have a look at it, well, these two worlds just weren't meant to be or weren't meant to meet. I
Right.
think that is a really nice way of, yeah, in that moment, really take a deep breath and just let that flow through and just say, look, we're not meant for each other, or this job opportunity, or this,
Right.
yeah, I
Right.
think that's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. And when I recognize that my world isn't for everyone, and their world isn't, not everyone's world is for me, then it allows for this grace
Mm.
that we can give each other, right? And say, okay, it's okay that this isn't for me, that you're not for me, I'm not for you, this opportunity isn't. It's okay. I love that you said that,
Mm.
um, Carol, when you said it's okay. That just gives us some peace, right? The
Yeah,
opportunity to give
yeah,
ourselves some grace.
100%.
It's
And
just
and I think fear is the other thing too. Fear is the thing that comes up. So if you think about fear, there's really only two things with fear: is not getting what you want or losing what you have.
Right.
So you're in that moment too. So you're like, oh, I'm not going to get what I want, or you're like, oh, but what if that happens? I could lose what I have, you know. But it's coming back to the center of that and saying, well, actually, fear's okay too, because that's just another emotion. And you like to say, don't you, Lucy? Fear is just excitement without the breath. I love that saying.
That's a great one. I love that. Yeah.
the thing that
Jen,
comes up for me too.
go ahead.
Yeah, that comes up for me around this is letting go of needing a particular outcome, right? So, and I think that's when we feel rejected, we feel like Carol said, we've lost something, but we never had it in the first place, right? We were just, yeah, we wanted it. So I think when we get to that space in our life where we're holding on to, oh, I've got to get this outcome. I need to get the promotion, or I need to get my idea through, or I need this team member to like me, whatever it might be. Yeah, if we let go of the need and say, you know what, what's going to be is going to be, I'm going to put it forward anyway, and what's going to happen is going to happen. That's such a more calm place to be, and that helps us to not take things personally, as you said, Maria, because yeah, we've really got a tendency to personalize everything when we shouldn't.
Mm, that's so true. But we all do it. It's so human.
Absolutely.
It's so
Mm.
human. And we are all part of that race, right?
And I've got
Yeah.
a little saying that needy is creepy. So if we're needy, we're off putting to people, right? In so many different ways.
Mm,
So instead of being needy around that outcome, yeah, just let it be.
yeah. 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 All right. So I know you have 12 strategies. I would love to hear of at least one more. Would you share that with us, Jen?
I would do another one. Yes, I would. Probably one of the most important ones out of that 12 for me is seeking feedback. So when you're experiencing a rejection, talk about it. Don't be afraid to talk about it with the person involved or the other party involved. Could be your partner, could be your boss, could be your teammate. prospective client, discuss it a bit and just dive in and say, oh, I was getting a feeling that, that you were thinking that was a good idea. Can we talk about that just a little bit? Can you explain to me a little bit why now isn't the right time? Or why I'm not a good fit for you and your business at this moment? Because when we get feedback, it helps us be better the next time we're in that situation. And I think so often we retreat after we've been rejected. We retreat, we run away, we go hide somewhere because it doesn't feel good. As Carol mentioned in the very beginning, it feels awful in our bodies. And when we retreat, we just cut ourselves off from learning. So if we stay in that little bit of discomfort at the moment and ask for feedback, it can be incredibly powerful and a great learning experience for us, so that the next time we're in that situation, we can maybe handle it just that little bit better and have a better chance of success. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does, absolutely. Another thing that I think happens when we retreat is that we leave ourselves and whoever else was involved in this conversation to our own devices, right? To make judgments and assumptions about what just happened. And getting feedback creates the environment, the atmosphere in which we can kind of clear the air and avoid judgment.
Totally.
Yeah.
One of the things that I have been trained in, we talked about Carol being a happiness trainer, and I work with the DISC behavioral model, or the DISC communication model. Love DISC. And what it really teaches us when we dive into it is, going back to the previous point of, all of us are wired differently in how we see the world and how we perceive situations. And it's not bad, it's not good, it just is what it is. But when we can, again, learn to bring those worlds together, we communicate much more effectively. In this situation, some personality styles may really, really struggle more than others with asking for feedback, right? They might be terribly afraid to do so because they're just wired to not do that sort of thing. But oh my goodness, building that muscle of just asking the question, saying, hey, can we talk about that? Can you tell me more about that? That's Carol's favorite question, right? Tell me more. And yeah, just being open to learning.
Yeah, just being a little curious, right? Allowing your curiosity to go, I wonder what just happened here. Can we talk about that? Yeah. 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 So feedback is so, in so many cases, right? Feedback is so helpful, right?
We're
And I
afraid
love
of it.
that. Just tell me more. It is probably the easiest question to ask, but fear pops up for people who uh, are resistant to asking for feedback. They're not sure they want to hear what the other person would say. They're not sure how they would respond. How can they maybe field the objections that may come forward? Yeah, and that's an uncomfortable situation. But I think the more we put ourselves in those situations, the better we get at,
Yeah.
kind of landing on our feet and, talking more confidently about things like that.
And I think some of those personality styles, there are some who, some people, regardless of whether they are right, they've got such high ego strength, they always think they're right. So, of course, for them, asking for feedback and potentially hearing that they're actually not right is uncomfortable. But yeah, stepping into that and understanding that in order to grow, you've got to have the feedback. It's a
Yeah.
nice place to get to.
Yeah.
I think feedback too is one of those things that if they are someone with a high ego, they're not always going to want to hear feedback either. So sometimes it's difficult to be able to give that. So it's always nice to ask, even
Yeah,
if you do,
those
you want to keep going with it and you want to keep giving the feedback. It's always nice to ask, could I give you some feedback about this? And if they say no, you know where you're standing.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can make another statement and try and get a little bit out, but at the end of the day, you know it's not going to be received. So, yeah.
Yeah. Figuring people out is always the challenge, isn't it? Just kind of figuring out, how do they communicate? How do they need to be communicated with, so that everyone is kind of seen and heard, and it feels safe? That's always a challenge in communicating and using our communication skills, right? And
Yeah. Yeah, and making, we make up stories all the time. Like, if you really think about it, we were born naked and the same, all of us, born naked and the same. And then life gets hold of us and changes us, and, the paradigms come in and our family values come in. There's so much that goes into who we are. And then, we have conversations, we get into these sticky situations, and we make up a whole story about the other person, thinking this, thinking that, and if we can kind of step back from that and try and get hold of that monkey mind and actually kind of see them as the soul that they are, but also as, the young child that they are, their inner child. If we can see that, little boy sitting there who's got this massive ego, or that, that little girl that, was rejected as a kid, and still feels rejected, then we can step back from it and realize it, not make it so personal. It's not about me, Yeah, it's an interesting one. It's so hard to do in the moment, though.
We like to think it's all about us, don't we, Kara? It's all about me. No, not really.
not really, right? And if we could only remind ourselves of that more often, right? It's not just about me. So, yeah. Oh boy, I'm thinking of all kinds of things that happen with my clients, and with me, that are relationship oriented, whether at work or at home. And it's if we could only say to ourselves more often, it's not just about me, right? There are feelings, there are stories, there are assumptions being made on the other side of this conversation, right? And if we could only just open ourselves up to ask, so what's going on here? What are you feeling? What are you thinking? Let's just talk about it.
Yeah, totally. There's another great little saying that I love to impart with people is, when you're feeling these feelings come up, it's recognizing, who am I with this feeling? When this feeling is taking over, who am I with this feeling? It's that good Byron Katie stuff, recognizing that actually when I have this feeling, I'm disempowered. I'm not in my most powerful state when I'm feeling rejected, when I'm feeling, downtrodden, when I'm feeling, to me, it's happening to me. It's recognizing this feeling. Oh, okay. So if I could let this feeling go, who else could I be? What's the feeling I really want in this moment? But it's just recognizing that, and recognizing that the feeling's disempowering me. What's a better thought to put in my head to help me move through this feeling?
And maybe just to add on to the feeling, it's also your posture. So what do you do in that moment when you get rejected? Often we sort of fall a bit in. We go into that child pose, and that's really the time where you take a deep breath, open up your shoulders, and really step back into your power. Because I think we often forget what's actually happening with our body, because it is, the body, mind, it all works together. And even just seeing that, again, taking a few steps back or just outside of what's actually happened between the situations, that can, help a lot too.
Yeah. So, we've talked a lot about the stories we tell ourselves and the feelings we have when things aren't going our way. And it comes down, for me, it comes down to the choices we make about what to do next, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So in this moment, this is how I'm feeling. This is what just happened. This is how it impacted me. Who am I now in this situation? And what choice do I want to make about what to do next? And you've
Yeah.
talked about, um, I call it reframing. I think you called it redirecting, Carol. Figuring out how do I want to respond instead or the
Yeah.
next time? What do I learn from this and how do I want to respond instead? Because I think if we think about how we would have had we been if we had a do-over, how would we do it differently? And if we think about that, then the next time something similar happens, we've already thought it through.
That's right. Yeah. And that's the feedback piece as well, isn't it? That Jen was talking about understanding in the moment, not repeating the same pattern, I suppose, recognizing that this was a pattern before, but this isn't how I want to respond now. And so understanding and deconstructing the moment and the pattern, and then recognizing I don't want to be that person that reacts like that next time. So next time I'm going to do, something else. So then you get your strategy thinking, and you're ready for the next one, I guess. And that's that whole piece of building the muscle, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that you just talked about patterns, because so often that is the case, right? That we've always dealt with rejection this way, and we don't know any different until we decide to look at it differently.
100%.
Yeah. So it's all within our power to change it depending on the choices we make.
That's right. And the power is in the present moment, isn't it? The power is always in the present moment, and from this moment, this moment, this moment. So recognizing that I can do it differently next time, but I did the best I could in this moment. Because sometimes we can beat ourselves up about it too.
No, sometimes. I think a lot of the time we do. Darn, I wish I'd done that differently. Yeah, but then realizing that now there's a teaching moment here.
Exactly. Yeah. And what if this was happening for your highest good and greatest joy? What if actually in that moment it was not what you wanted, and you felt really terrible about it, and it felt awful in your body, but actually it's making me stronger, it's making me more available the next time this happens to be better in the next moment. And that's where growth and happiness comes from. Our biggest happiness is on the other side of progress. So that's how we get happier, is to one, contribute, as much as we can to society and life, but also to grow. That's where our happiness lies.
Right.
To add on to that little point, to add on to that is also, I guess rejection is just part of business, but I think another big part that we really need to focus, or I like to focus on way more, is like celebrating wins, like what's really happening in your business that's working for you, that you want to do, and it's motivating you, and you've got another milestone that you achieved, and you feel empowered, and your body just wants more and more of that. And then I guess whenever we have a next rejection, we can really just sit back and be like, well, really, that's not helping me to achieve my next milestone. So it's okay. It's good, because my goal is to anyway be there and there and there and work with those people. So this person does not align. And I think, again, we can just help with the story and choose to go for what we actually want, and really refocus on the vision and the bigger picture that we're after in that moment. So celebrating wins, it sounds like a really small little task to do. I think we all don't do it enough. Like, we should really be celebrating us every day, and for the smallest little things, but that will just ingrain in us, and we will just, we want to crave more. And I think that's a big thing that we often forget about in business, especially when we're running our own businesses. We're so hard, and we know it was not what we wanted. And, I need to not,
Yeah.
And so,
and we're always on to the next thing, right? So the celebrating wins, I think, is so important and so overlooked. The benefit of it is so overlooked. I do it myself. It's like, oh, that was nice. On to the next thing, right?
Mhm.
Don't give it enough. Don't give it enough uh, space
Mm.
to
Yeah.
really enjoy, and there's learning from that too, right? So how did we make that happen, and how do we replicate that?
Totally. One of the things that I really advocate for anyone to do at the end of the year, end of the quarter, halfway through the year, whenever it is just kind of take a minute and stop and reflect on what went well
Mm,
in my life, in my career, in my business the last 6 months. And how did I contribute to that? And what didn't go so well? And how did I contribute to that? Like, what am I bringing to the situation here on, the successes and the things that didn't quite go the way I wanted them to go? And gosh, there's so many gems in just sitting down and doing something, an exercise like that.
I so agree. I What I think can happen when we're reflective like that is that we notice things that were um, hidden because we weren't looking, right? But when we literally just kind of pull back the curtain on the last 6 months or a quarter, whatever it is, and notice what happened and how did we, I love the way you said it, how you contributed to it. How did you make that happen? Good, good, bad, or indifferent, right? What was your role in it? What can you learn from that, do differently, or do more of? Yeah,
Absolutely. What can I take from that moving forward into the next 6 months, the next quarter, and how
exactly.
can I do something different to get a different result?
Yeah. That's a brilliant planning strategy. And part of, and we're talking about strategies here for to build resilience. That's a great strategy for building resilience. For the next time there's a setback, you've already armed yourself with information that can lead you in a different direction when you're kind of maybe even anticipating that something is not going to go the way you want it to, and taking a bit of a detour so that
Absolutely.
you can avoid that. Who's got a puppy?
Me, I've got three. I've got three.
And they
And
just woke up. It's morning there.
right, that's right.
It's probably time for breakfast.
It sure is.
Yeah, we've got animals here, so no worries. I love them. All right. So, um, is there anything else that you would like to share that would be helpful to our audience? Lucy, what do you think? Is there anything that we didn't ask, that we didn't talk about, that you might like to share?
Yeah, so one thing that just sort of kept popping back into my mind was really having that big picture and knowing exactly where you want to go with your life, with your business, being clear on the direction and having that clarity. And I feel the more you have that and the more that's really feels amazing and great, I think the less we'll take these rejections as a very negative part of, I guess, life and business. So it's really, yeah, like I said before, we're celebrating those wins and just being clear on really what do we want. And yeah, ask for what you want, and don't be shy, or don't, yeah, just be you and celebrate who you are and what you want, and stand in your what do you say, your joy and your power of, yeah, you can do that and you can achieve what you put your mind to. And I think that would be a big sort of tip for me to really navigating through these rejections that we all tend to, or that we all experience. So,
Yeah, so that's such a great idea. Having a clear vision of what it is you really want, right? What do you want, even walking into a conversation, right? What do you want to come out of this? What's your intention, right? It's not that you have to have it figured out, and if it doesn't happen, you're rejected, right? But if you go in with an intention, you're more likely to be able to kind of navigate through that, right? And have a real conversation about
Mm.
it. What do you
Yeah,
think?
totally. Yeah, 100%. And I love that you brought up the word intention, because there's another little lovely phrase, which is having intention, paying attention to it, but having no tension on the outcome. So,
Oh,
as
I
you
like
know,
that.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's really cool. It's a real easy one to remember.
yeah.
So, as Jen talked about, the outcome may not be what you want, so but there could be something better. So, it's actually kind of having the intention for the meeting or the conversation, putting some attention on it, planning, getting your strategy together, and then letting go of the outcome, having no tension. So, how it comes about is how it comes about, and moving through. So, yeah, nice one to remember, that one.
I love that. That's great. So repeat it one more time.
So, intention, attention, no tension.
Okay. Love that. All right. So I know you ladies brought a very generous offer to our viewers and listeners. Jen, will you tell us about that?
Well, we've got a takeaway for your people who might be listening and might want a little bit more of what we've been dishing out today. So if you've been picking up what we've been laying down and you want us to lay down a little bit more, we can do that. We've got a ebook that we've created recently, and it's called Rejection to Riches, your sales playbook. But basically, it's all 12 strategies laid out clearly, a section, all 12 strategies to overcome rejection, a strategy you can work through to really clearly spell out your unique thing about you that helps you stand out in the crowd when you're out at a networking event or when you're talking to someone about what you do for your business or what you do as a business owner. And then we've got another little section in there that really helps you identify who are the right people to have in your orbit, whether that's your inner circle, your ideal client, people to surround yourself with at work to really help you move forward. Who are those ideal people to have around you? So that's a cool resource that we're making available. And I think we provided a link for you to share. And there's also an opportunity on there to book in a 20-minute clarity session with the Divas. So if you want a little diva love, we got it for you.
I love that. A little diva love. That's so that's so cool. And thank you very much for that offer. I am sure that we are going to have lots of people who are going to take you up on that. And you're right, we will have the link for that in the show notes. So before we wrap up here, at the end of every show, I love to have my guests plural today, to just help us wrap it up in a bow. What are some of the key takeaways or actionable tips that we can offer just to wrap this up? Who wants to take that?
Oh, I can jump in.
All right.
Team. So, we've covered so much ground today. And Maria, we have loved having with you. Thank you for holding space for us today. And it's just been, I think, a lovely discussion. Um, you know, if you're if you're listening and you've listened to what we've shared with you today around rejection, rejection doesn't have to stop you, right? It doesn't have to stop you in your tracks. Don't let it stop you. You are in control of your reactions. You are in control of your emotions. You're in control of the decisions that you're making in every moment. And I think we just need to get back in touch with that in order to reclaim what's rightfully ours, which is whatever the heck we want. You can do whatever you want. You can achieve whatever you want in your career. You can start a business. You can be more successful in your family life. I don't care what it is you want, but you can have it. So just remember also to surround yourself with people who support you. Just like the three of us, the three divas, we formed this beautiful collaboration to be able to deliver what we do. But, now we've got people in our orbit like Maria, who's just a beautiful soul and who's interested in also uplifting people. And just reach out to people who are in your world that will support you on your journey, whether that's personal, in a career, in your business. That power of community is so very important. And I think that's really the big wrap up for today is it's all under your control, and surround yourself with people who will support you.
I love that. I can't tell you how many times on this show it doesn't seem to matter what we're talking about. Whether it's, like we are today talking about rejection, or we've talked about, public speaking, we've talked about so many topics, leadership. Almost, I would say 90% of the time, someone says one of the key things is to surround yourself with people who have your back, right? People you can trust, people who are I call that group, for me, my clients, our personal board of directors. Because if we're the CEO of our lives and of our careers and of our businesses, every great CEO has a fabulous board of directors, and we get to pick them. We get to pick who they are. So that is such, thank you very much for ending with that, because it is so important in whatever we are doing to be surrounded by people who get us and support us in the very best way. Thank you so much, ladies. I know that our viewers are going to want to get in touch with you. So share with us the one best way. We're going to put a graphic up at the bottom, the one best way. And I think you gave us your LinkedIn profile, your business, your company profile, right?
That is one of the ways to reach us, absolutely. And the other is just through our website. So just go to www.90daydivas.com, and that's 90daydivas.com. Easy peasy.
90daydivas.com. Easy peasy. Jen, Lucy, and Carol, thank you for getting up so early to be with us. I appreciate it. I know our viewers do too. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks, Maria.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
It is my pleasure. And for those watching and listening, I really appreciate that you're a part of this community. So if you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave a comment, pick a star, let us know what you think, and share it. Please share it. Creating and sharing resources for women is one of my favorite things to do. I have many. And another favorite thing is being a coach, a career and life coach for women navigating challenging times and helping them get unstuck, explore new possibilities, and find harmony in their careers and indeed in their lives. So if something in this episode resonates with you and you'd like a fresh perspective, reach out. Now you have 4 new people to talk to. All of our contact information is in the show notes below. And then let's get together again here next Thursday at 10 a.m. Pacific time for another inspiring conversation. Because you know what? I believe it's our time to thrive. So let's thrive together. Until next time, I'm Maria Tomás-Keegan, helping you turn transition into triumph.